Hello again, Honky Tonks. Now, we all know, and it's rather obvious now, that Nigel Farage really doesn't like Tommy Robinson. He never brought it up in conversation. Only recently, journalists and others would ask him, well, what about Tommy Robinson? And he'd tell them, he'd stick the knife in, and that's that. He doesn't like Tommy Robinson, he doesn't want Tommy Robinson near the Reform Party, and, that was his reasoning, and fair enough. He doesn't have to like Tommy Robinson, he doesn't have to associate with him. It's his choice. He doesn't have to do things to please everyone. Saying that, recently, he's not only stuck the knife in, but he's twisted it. And he doesn't have to be asked about him during conversation. What about Tommy Robinson? He'll bring him up anyway, and he'll really dig into the guy. And what does he gain from doing all this? I don't really understand. It's beyond confusing. I think he is pandering to someone now. Nigel Farage doesn't do things unless things work out for him, put it that way. I think Nigel Farage gets something out of it by doing this to Tommy Robinson now. And Tommy Robinson isn't in a position to rebuke him, debate him, and call him out for it because he's still in prison in Milton Keynes, I do believe, HMP Wood Hill. In solitary confinement for his own safety over a civil matter, and that's been ramped up now because he's not allowed any visitors. His mate Richard Inman posted on X that his request to visit had been denied because what was being said on social media, even though visitors to Tommy Robinson had adhered to those conditions laid out by the governor. So yeah, they're kind of, it's like a mental torture. Having worked in prisons, I know what solitary confinement can do to a prisoner over long periods. And he's in there for a civil matter. Dear me. In my opinion, he shouldn't be in prison, but that's just me. There are people who have committed far worse crimes walking the streets today. Hugh Edwards, for example, and I can go on. And I can assure you, folks, the Southport murderer, Axel Rudabakana, he'd be enjoying far more freedoms in prison right now than Tommy Robinson. And that's a hell of a thing to say, isn't it? But, it's true. It's all true. You know it. And Nigel needs to remember that some, if not most, Reform voters are Tommy Robinson supporters. I remember at Trafalgar Square, he stood there on the podium and told people to vote for Reform. He knew what Nigel Farage and Tice and the rest of them thought about him, and he still did that anyway. He didn't want any civil war or conflict with them, and yet Reform hierarchy are doing this, and I don't really quite understand it. I mean, are they trying to pander to the Conservative vote? Is that what they're doing? That's who they're jockeying for position with now. And it's weird because Reform and Nigel Farage are still doing well in the polls, despite what he's saying about Tommy Robinson and his interviews recently regarding a certain community, shall we say. It really hasn't endeared him to his core voters, but still he's doing well. And Tommy Robinson could change his mind when he comes out of prison, and he could confront Nigel Farage with a microphone and the camera and ask him, why did you say all those things about me? You could have just left it. And I agree. Nigel Farage could have just left it back then, because I don't think it's going to benefit him in the long run. I mean, I see the comments on social media when he says these things, and they're not positive at all. But again, saying that, he gets all this backlash from Tommy Robinson supporters, and he's flying high in the popularity polls, election polls, everything. Reform are ahead now of Labour and Conservative. Nigel tops the poll of popularity between Keir Starmer and Kemi Badenoch and him. Then again, if it was a poll between the Moors murderers, Ted Bundy and Keir Starmer would still come third. I think that's how unpopular the guy is. So is Nigel Farage only saying these things because he knows Tommy can't refute them, answer back, call him out for it? I don't know. If it is, then that's the mark of a coward. If you ask me, Tommy's going to come out of prison, and will he let this go? I don't know. I don't know the guy personally. I'm not in that circle. I'm just an observer, obviously, looking what's going on and giving my opinion, as you should as well, while you have the freedom to do it. Think about that for a minute. Before long, you won't. You know, you've got to be careful what you're saying. And if Keir Starmer has his way, you watch, there'll be blasphemy laws in his country soon. My goodness, can you imagine that? That's the way it's heading. Unfortunately, free speech must reign, in my opinion. And there we go. I'm Paz49. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't subscribed yet, if you agree with what I say and you like what you hear, then by all means, hit the sub button and hit that bell as well, because I upload every day around 9 o'clock-ish. Sometimes when I feel like it, I make multiple videos a day. And there we go. I'll see you at the next one, and Roger Trout.